Hey everybody, today's video topic is going to be really sad, but I'm really hoping that we can use this as a force for education, as a way to teach people how to avoid these type of situations ever happening again on a really large scale. Originally today, I'd been planning to do a video about a business update, and as you guys know, my business is called Forever Home Friends. I'm actually wearing the jacket with one of our dog characters on it, with the logo on the back and all of that. So I was originally going to be doing a business update video today to talk about my dog business and all the stuff that's coming up next. Then I heard this new awful story that just came out about a dog that has unfortunately passed away due to some YouTube influencer family vlogger negligence. And we're going to talk about the situation in detail, but it just made me so upset. And I feel like these situations keep happening due to a severe lack of education about how to care for pets and the type of commitment that pets are going to have. It's also one of the missions that I have as a rescue dog advocate, is to try to educate about these topics. We're going to talk about this situation in depth. While we do that, I'm going to do like a get ready with me style thing. I'm not even going to do the theme song because the theme song for my channel is too fun and happy, and that's not how I'm feeling right now. On a more fun and brighter note, before we get into the really sad topic, for the get ready with me, because I'm getting ready to film a couple videos, including a video where Chewy and I are going to write a book together. I've been posting it online. It's going to be really cute for this Friday. So for that, I decided to do a get ready with me. This is, I've shown this on a live stream before. I made one of the ColourPop, like, build your own makeup palette things, and I did the color palette for my Forever Home Friends book. So each of the dogs, you know, has their own color palette based on their book and their plushie and all of that. And Wrigley's the one that's on my jacket today. So I decided I wanted to do Wrigley's color palette, which is these 4 colors. So I'm going to be doing a makeup look to go with Wrigley, with that dog from the series right now, while we talk about some rescue dog stuff and a little bit more about dog advocacy and the importance of that. Alright, let's get into this. So, if you guys are new here, don't forget to subscribe. I put out videos usually Mondays and Fridays, always on Fridays, usually on Mondays too, sometimes on Wednesdays if I have a lot more things to talk about. I normally talk about books and business, hence why today was going to be a business update. And my business, as you guys know, is I create books, plushies, merch, toys, and things like that based on real rescue dogs and their journeys to adoption. And I donate 10% of all of my profits to local animal shelters, specifically the shelter where I adopted my dog Chewy from. Although sometimes we partner up with other things. We partner up with other shelters for events, and then we'll donate to them in that case. So we really try to help as much as we can. So Wrigley's color palette, we've got blue, purple, and yellow shades, so that's what I'm going to do while we get ready here. So a couple weeks ago, I made this video about Rachel Hollis giving up her rescue dog, right? Because I cover business gurus on this channel, and I cover rescue dog stuff, so I was like, oh, a business guru just gave up her rescue dog. We should talk about that. And I covered that in a way where I took it from the perspective of, you know, my dog Chewy has severe anxiety. He has a lot of problems as well, and that kind of thing. And in that video, I even specifically said, while I found this to be a really sad situation and I felt like she didn't do all that she could, at the end of the day, there are going to be some situations where a dog does have to be rehomed, and I'm glad that the dog is in a situation where they have the right home for them now. Then this situation happened, and it takes it to the extreme. So I'm going to recap this situation, and then I also some videos in the description below from other creators who have done a really great job covering this topic. Recently, Rachel Oates put out a video about this, and she's a rescue dog advocate as well here on YouTube, and I love her work. I also just recently watched a video by Alicia, who's a commentary YouTuber I really like, and then I saw Smokey Glow put one out. I haven't watched hers yet, but I know she always does a really good job, so I imagine it's going to be really good. So basically what happened, let's give a quick rundown. There's these YouTubers who I had never heard of until this, and I kind of wish I could go back to a time when I hadn't heard of them. If I had a time machine, I'd go back in time to a time when I had never heard of Nikki and Dan Phillippi, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce it, and I'm not going to learn because I don't want to promote these people. These two are, you know, vloggers, influencers here on YouTube. Chewy's barking because, like, he already doesn't like where this is going.
Oh, good boy. Thank you. That's enough. That's enough. Thanks for letting me know, but no more barking, okay?
So this couple had a dog who was a bull terrier, right? And recently, they have a young child now, too. And what happened was their dog bit their child and then they had the dog euthanized, put down. So this situation's really upsetting, and I wanna go over the specifics of the situation a little bit, because some people who are not dog people or who are not pet people or animal people might hear that story and be like, well, it was for the safety of the human, or there might be that perspective that some people have. So I want to fully go into this so that we can educate on this topic. I want to say going into this that as someone who has worked with animal shelters, who knows a lot about, all of my dogs have been rescue dogs. Chewy's a rescue dog, and I know that dogs vary in level of difficulty. I will say Chewy's a difficult dog. He has a lot of emotional trauma. He has a lot of stuff that we work with him. So I will say going into this that I know that situations have existed before. I've been aware of situations. Never a dog I've had, but other dogs that I've known as, from my work with shelters and things like that, where there will be a dog who after years of training and trying to rehabilitate and trying to either find the right home or working with professional trainers, there have been dogs that it's like, this dog has too much neurological damage and this dog cannot be rehabilitated and the dog does have to get put down. That is very rare though. So I just want to make it clear for the people out there who are watching this and are going to be like, oh, but that happens, that can happen. I agree, it does happen, but it is so rare that it's like, it does need to be talked about, but I think that people should not use the fact that very rare situation happens as a cop-out for what happened here, which was not that type of situation whatsoever. This was not a situation where there was a dog that was regularly attacking their child unprovoked. This wasn't a situation of a dog with head trauma and brain damage who couldn't contain or couldn't control those type of impulses. This wasn't a situation where this dog had no hope, had no ability to be rehabilitated at all, despite trying years and years of trainers. No, this was basically a dog bit the child once, provoked, and then they chose to put the dog down. This couple has a small child, about a year or two old, I would guess, very young. And the dog bit the child because the child was interfering with the dog's food. Now, some people might say, okay, well then that's you need to train the dog to not react when you interfere with their food. Yes, some dogs you can train for that and some you can't. This dog was 9 years old and the dog had, apparently according to them, the dog had some trauma from an attack that he'd had as a puppy. So he was a reactive dog. And I get that. Chewy had trauma that I've talked about too. Chewy had trauma as a puppy. He has about 9 to 11 pellets in his face. He has a lot of trauma, he has a lot of anxiety, and there are some things that we can't train out of him. There are some things that are just part of who he is. And we have to work around and accept that. So not every dog can have that trained out of them, and I get that. I also get that not every dog is going to be okay with kids. I don't have kids. Chewy is okay with kids as a whole, but I think he does better with adults since he can have some issues sometimes and, needs someone who's a little more understanding of that and who isn't going to try to provoke him. Not all dogs are good with kids. That's just kind of the way it is. And that's why when you adopt a dog, when you go to adopt a dog from an animal shelter or you go to, adopt a dog from someone who's trying to rehome them, a big thing that people will talk about or that will go on the listings is this dog good with kids? Can this dog be around kids? Some dogs can, some dogs can't, and that's a thing to keep in mind. Now, in this couple's case, right, they'd had this dog for years, and they had a kid when the dog was already an adult, when the dog was probably 7 or 8 years old. So in this case, finding out the dog's not good with kids, well, it's a little late now. Okay, what do we do? Well, in that case, you have a couple of options. So from what they said in their video, it seems that the dog was only a problem with the kid when the kid provoked the dog first. And when a kid's really young, a year, 2 years old, it can be very hard for the kid to understand the gravity of that situation or to understand why they don't need to play rough or that kind of thing. So that's a case where you need to work with your kid on that, right? That's a case where you need to teach your kid about boundaries with the dog. And if the kid's too young to understand, then you have a couple of other options. One, keeping the kid and dog separate until the kid is old enough to learn and understand that fully, right? So in this case, it seemed that the only main issue that they'd had was that the dog would react when the kid was either like straight up bullying the dog, like messing with his ears, pulling on his ears and things like that, or when the kid was messing with the dog's food. So some dogs, due to trauma, are very food protective, and some just due to instinct are very food protective. So you can't mess with their food or they will react to that. A lot of dogs you can very well train that out of, but some dogs you can't. So a solution here would be to always keep the kid and dog separate during the dog's meal times. A lot of dogs do well on a meal schedule where they eat at certain times. Like we have Chewy has a breakfast time and a dinner time, and Chewy, because he can be reactive and territorial, not usually with food, but sometimes he and Wrigley, when they're playing together, like if we go take him over, we go, we're going to Wrigley's house, Chewy. He's actually going to Wrigley's house tomorrow. He's very excited. But when he goes to play with Wrigley, the two of them will get a little competitive over their food. So they have to eat completely separately. So we'll put him in one room, her in another room, have the doors closed in between. You have to make those accommodations sometimes. So keeping the kid always separate from the dog while he's eating would be another thing. If at the end of the day, these parents truly felt that their kid's safety was going to be jeopardized by being around this dog, then it would be important to find a home that doesn't have kids for the dog to live in. In their video, they explained that they tried rehoming him but couldn't, which I don't believe, and I'm going to talk about why. So they said that they wanted to rehome the dog, and when they talked with someone at the Humane Society, apparently, allegedly, according to them, what this person said was that they could not rehome the dog because the dog was too old and had been too bonded to the humans that he was with. Now, I don't know what the fuck kind of Humane Society they talk to, because that sounds like bullshit. I even just wrote a book about senior dogs, including dogs who got adopted at their senior years. There are more than enough shelters out there that will take senior age dogs. There are even shelters out there that are senior dog specific. There are plenty of animal shelters that take in senior age dogs. So there is absolutely, in my opinion, absolutely no reason that someone would say 9 is too old for you to rehome your dog. That's just not a thing. Might it be harder? Sure. But no, that just sounds like a bullshit excuse to me. So I don't fully believe that. In my opinion, this couple is disgusting. I'm not even going to play the video because the video just upsets me so much, and that's why I think if you want a breakdown of what exactly they said in their video about killing their dog and how they try to justify it and all that, and how they kind of seem like they're full of bullshit, I would recommend checking out, I've linked below, Rachel Oates' video, Alizi's video, or Smokey Glow's video on this. Anyway, the reason I want to talk about this is because I want to talk about some solutions, because, the other week I talked about, right, how Rachel Hollis rehomed her dog, which is miles better than what this couple did, so at least credit to her for rehoming. But I talked about that, but I also, in that discussion, talked about how I think this stems from people just not really knowing how to handle a dog with anxiety, or not knowing what to do with a dog that might have a little bit more of a risk to them, and not knowing how to handle that dog before adopting. There's a lot of things you need to take into account before you adopt a dog. Adopting a dog itself is not a decision that should just be made lightly. It's something that you really need to consider everything when going into it. And that's why I really wanted to make this video today, is to talk about some potential solutions to these kind of problems that we keep seeing popping up, and things that people need to know. So one myth I want to debunk right out of the gate, which is something that was this couple kind of discussed in this video, is that there is no such thing as a violent dog breed. They talked about how, he attacks sometimes, but that's just something that can happen with bull terriers. This is a stereotype that specifically bull terriers, Dobermans, pit bulls, bulldogs, a bunch of those kind of breeds, they tend to get that type of stereotype. And honestly, that's one reason that with Forever Home Friends, I like to feature pit bulls, like Chewy is a pit bull mix. I like to feature dogs that often are, kind of treated that way, or are kind of given that stereotype. I will say that different breeds of dogs have different strengths and weaknesses. So that was the first stereotype I wanted to debunk from this video right out of the gate, was that a breed is not inherently aggressive. That's just not how it works. Are there dogs that might have more anger issues and stuff naturally? Sure, but that just means you have to train them with that in mind. So that was an important thing that I really wanted to talk about. Next thing I wanted to talk about from this video is the importance of knowing when you adopt a dog what needs that dog has. So they've had this dog since the dog was a puppy. So when you have the privilege, I guess, of having a dog since their puppy years, you get to train everything with them. You know, if that dog is not good with kids or something, that's kind of your fault at that point, right? Because one thing we talk about with rescuing a dog who's a little older, right? Like when I adopted Chewy when he was 2 and he already had a lot of trauma. In that case, I can't really control the fact that he's dog reactive. I mean, we train and we work on that, but I went into this knowing like we might never be able to have a second dog with him. He might never even make any friends, and already we've worked enough on that he does have friends, which is pretty amazing. But you go into it knowing that there are certain challenges with that, versus when you have a dog since they're a puppy, you kind of have the ability to determine what's going to happen. Now, I know that they talked about how this dog was attacked when he was a puppy, so as a result, he has some trauma from that and has some reactivity issues. Well, before you have kids, that's the time to really double down on the training with that dog. Get that dog some professional training. Hire a trainer. Lord knows you have the money, right? Next is working on training your child. Parenting involves raising your child not to behave badly to the dog. And in their video, they basically talked about how the child would provoke the dog all the time. And they never mentioned anything about trying to teach the child not to provoke the dog. That seems to not be a thing that even crossed their mind. So I'm not sure why they think that it's the dog's fault when they're never teaching the child not to provoke him. It just seems like a whole hot mess of a situation, and that's why I wanted to talk about some solutions in today's video. I mentioned when I was talking about Rachel Hollis rehoming her dog, which again, way better than what happened here. When I was talking about that in my video the other week, one thing I brought up is that I run a business that does advocacy for rescue dogs through sharing their stories and through honoring their characters and things like that. I am not a professional dog trainer, so there are times, when I might have an issue with Chewy or something and start thinking, oh my god, everyone's gonna think I'm a fraud, but I really want to have the situation where we have better education and knowledge about rescue dogs and what to, how to raise them and how to be effective with that. So I said in that video, like, hey, I would love to at some point team up with a professional dog trainer and create resources, because I'm not a professional. I cannot create these resources myself. I do not have the expertise for that. So I would love to team up with like a licensed dog trainer to do that. Well, shortly after I posted that video, a licensed dog trainer actually reached out to me and said, hey, I would love to help you on this. So I'm going to show you guys what we're working on doing right now. And I'm really excited about this, and I hope that this will start to create some more education in these areas so that these type of situations hopefully can be avoided in the future, at the very least just by people not adopting a dog in the first place if that dog is not something they can handle. So over here, this is my website, foreverhomefriends.com, right? This is the business I run. I am relaunching, or have recently relaunched, our blog, which is called The Dog Blog. Shout out to fellow YouTuber, one of my best friends on BookTube, Eric of the channel Break Even Books, because he has been writing blog content for us for the past couple of months. I hired a blogger. If you guys remember, a couple months ago, I took applications for bloggers for the site, and he applied, and I thought his blogging experience and his experience with web development and SEO and everything made him really perfect for this job. So he has been writing blog content for us for the past couple of months. We even just did this post recently, 5 reasons why we love pit bulls. Look at how cute that little face is, guys. So this blog is a place where I really want to start having resources available. So the dog trainer who reached out to me after I posted that video the other week, I had a meeting with her, and then I had a meeting with her and Eric together, and we're expanding this blog to include dog training, not just training, also dog adoption consideration and resources, just so that people are prepared for any challenges that dogs might throw their way, and that people make sure to know that are they the right person to be getting a dog before they adopt, and also if they, once they do adopt, if they run into situations, what are the right ways to go about these things. Right now we've got fun, like, you know, fun facts about dogs, promoting shelters, cute pictures. We also have like small business and book related posts. I'm going to link this blog page in the description below. But now that I've teamed up with a professional dog trainer, she is working on some posts right now that are things such as things to consider before adopting a dog with anxiety. Also things like things to consider before adopting a dog if you have children, or if you have kids. Which most people who are on this website do have kids, because the products are picture books, which a lot of people buy for their children or teachers buy for their students and things like that. So one of the things is like, okay, if you have kids, what are some really important things you need to consider before adopting a dog? If you want to adopt a dog and that dog has anxiety, or that dog has an emotional issue, or that dog has trauma, what are some things you're going to need to know about training that dog? What are some things you're going to need to know about what that dog can and can't do? What are some things you're going to need to know about teaching your kids how to interact with that dog? Things like that. When I started this, the initial goal was that I wanted to help create some resources so that people could do better with training their dogs, and also with making sure that they dog rehoming situations are kept to a minimum. But now that I've seen this situation, I've realized this is like more dire than I realized, that there are like situations like this just happening where someone's like, oh my god, the dog bit my child once, that means the dog needs to get put down. No, either you need to work with your child on not provoking that dog, or you need to rehome that dog to a home that doesn't have children if that dog is never going to be capable of interacting with kids in a way that is healthy and safe. Those are the reasons that I really want to make sure that I work with someone who is a professional. So that's why, you know, I didn't want to write these posts myself. I wanted to make sure this comes from someone who knows what they're talking about. So I recently hired, her name is Jordan. She is a dog trainer who lives in Canada. And she is the new addition to our team. Before all of this like bullshit happened, this was originally going to be a happy video and was going to be like, welcome to the team, to Jordan and Eric who are creating blog content for us and all of that. It was going to be like a nice video like that, where it's like, see, look, we're gonna come up, and then like then this awful situation happened, and I hate that this happened so much, and I'm hoping to be part of the solution for this. I really want to. And just so everyone knows, like, the dog blog on the Forever Home Friends site does not make money. It's not monetized. It actually loses money because I have employees that work on it, such as a professional trainer that I hired to write some of the content. So I just don't want to I'm not trying to like I don't make money off of it. That I just really want that resource to be out there, because my business's mission is sharing real dog stories, teaching kids about social issues, helping dogs in need, and making new friends forever. So the helping dogs in need part is an important part of our mission, like I've said, because we do give 10% of our profits to animal shelters. However, that part of the mission, I feel like, isn't fully fulfilled if people think that adopt, don't shop is the end of it. That it's like, oh, if I adopted a dog, I did a good thing. Well, not necessarily, because there are people adopting dogs who aren't ready for them, or who don't know what challenges they might be facing down the line, and then you get horrible situations like this. Honestly, I mean, I know that the kind of situation that just happened with those people is in the minority, because most people... I'd like to think most people aren't that outright, like, unempathetic, aren't just, like, that incapable of understanding, like, emotion. I don't know. This whole situation has just made me really, really upset, but I'm really hoping that some of these resources can get spread around and be helpful. I think one of the first ones we're going to do is on this blog with Jordan the dog trainer is that coming up is National Chihuahua Appreciation Day. And what's cute is that in the book Princess Allie, one of the side characters is a Chihuahua. And so a great idea that Jordan had for one of the posts to go with that is, you know, for National Chihuahua Appreciation Day, how about we do a post about teaching consent with small dogs and things like that? I know a lot of times it's very easy for kids to run up to a small dog and think, oh, you know, this dog's harmless, they're so small, but you have to be, you know, knowledgeable about keeping that dog's personal space and, you know, making sure you get that owner's consent and that you approach the dog in a proper way. So we're working on a thing about that. Another thing we're working on is for 4th of July, dealing with dog anxiety around fireworks. I know Chewy has a huge problem with that. And then from there, we're working on a few about, like, how to teach your kids to or like how to train your kids to handle a dog, what to teach your kids about respecting a dog's personal space and things like that. So we just have a lot of posts and resources that we're creating. So I've linked the dog blog in the description below. Right now, if you want to check it out, none of those posts are going to go up starting within the next couple of weeks because we're working on those. That's a thing we've been working on in the background. And I was excited to make the announcement, and I really hate that this whole situation has been kind of taking up the public consciousness about this kind of thing. And I just because I've met enough people in my life who are like, well, you know, you got to put the child first, whatever it takes to put the child first. And it's just like, this was a situation that could have been avoided. These people essentially murdered their dog because what happened in this situation was that the dog did not need to die. The dog could have been rehomed to a home with no children, especially since in the video they've talked extensively about how they didn't seem to have any major problem before that they had a kid, and they talked about how the dog had some mild aggression issues or things like that in the past that they could have addressed back then. It's just negligence on the part of these owners that they didn't get the dog the proper training, they didn't teach the kid the proper way to interact with the dog, they didn't go the extra mile to make sure the kid and dog were separate while the dog was eating, and then when it came down to that situation where they realized this just isn't safe, they then didn't rehome the dog. And I know apparently whoever they talked to said that they shouldn't rehome it, but I just have a hard time believing that. I know plenty of senior dogs that have had to get rehomed, and it's always really sad when it happens, but it is much better than the situation they ended up creating instead. So I'm just really disgusted at these people. I think that this is just a horrifying situation, and I'm really upset that this happened. But I'm hoping with some educational resources out there and with continuing everyone spreading the message about the right times to get a dog, the wrong times to get a dog, the right ways to train and treat a dog, all of that. One of the posts that I was mentioning earlier that we're working on is about muzzle training. And I know that some people, there's sometimes a stereotype that like, oh, if you put a muzzle on your dog, that means that your dog is like foaming at the mouth aggressive or like has rabies and is biting everyone. And that's just false. Muzzle training is actually a very good thing that can help with, like, I live in the city. Chewy tries to eat chicken bones off the street and trash off the street and stuff all the time. And we try to train him away from that. But at the end of the day, a dog's instinct is the thing smells good. I want to eat the thing that smells good. Like, I get that. So we are actually starting working on muzzle training with him and things like that because it's important to address any type of situations like this, and because he does get reactive seeing other dogs, he does have trauma, he does try to bark at other dogs and things like that, and it's like raising a dog is not easy, guys. They're an animal, and you need to be willing to adapt to that. Otherwise, maybe you're not the right person to have that dog in the first place. So I think there's a lot of education that goes along with this, and because I'm not an expert, again, I have hired someone to help with that process. So welcome to the Forever Home Friends team. Jordan will be updating the Meet the Team page on the website soon because I'm adding more people to the Forever Home Friends family as I grow this business. So I really appreciate everyone watching this today. I hope you guys like the Wrigley makeup look. Show that to everyone. Tried to stay in the book. I hope you guys like it. This Friday will be a much more fun video where Chewy and I are going to write a book together parodying Dave Hollis's really shitty book. But I appreciate you guys being here with me this Monday. Also, please don't forget to subscribe to my second channel, Your Morning Guru, where RK and I follow a bunch of gurus and their morning routines and discuss their business advice and things like that. We're actually going into a second week of Gary Vee right now. He's the second guru after Marie Kondo that we did a second week of because there was so much to talk about. So we're going to continue delving into his tactics and everything this week on our show, and we're almost at 1,000 subscribers, which is really exciting. So don't forget to subscribe there as well, and I will see everyone tomorrow morning on that channel at 8 a.m. Central on our live stream. Other than that, I'll see you again on Friday with me and Chewy doing a video together. But in the meantime, don't forget to support small businesses and have a fantastic Monday. Go give your dogs a hug for me. Bye, everyone.